Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the Canyon. Welcome back to what is the first, but hopefully not the last, installment of breakdowns. Because sometimes, if one person asks for it, that is enough. So it's a little tangentially from the comments, because someone had asked, could you do breakdowns on the rigs? And I had done rig breakdowns in a small fashion back when the entire Canyon fleet was like 8 or 9 vehicles. So before this gentleman even joined the fleet. Purchased from A Main Hobbies in Chico, California on the 27th of December 2022, and making his debut on the channel on or about January 3rd, 2023, and fresh off of a long overdue service, a spa day as we call it, baseline, the Element RC Enduro SE Sendero. He came from humble beginnings, purchased because he was cheap, extravagantly cheap. Cheap to the point of extravagance. We needed a vehicle. The Royal Us. We wanted a vehicle to establish a baseline, hence the name, because baseline went rapidly into service as the gentleman that tests all things class 2. So class 2 tires, if a tire is bigger than 4.19 and smaller than 5 inches, this guy is pretty much going to get it, unless the tire is really balloony. Then we have another guy for that. But baseline has been here now all of 23, all of 24, and 7 months of 25, 30 plus months, in which time he has appeared in an unknown number of videos, but I would be willing to guarantee it is over 300. Between 300 and 500 would be a safe bet as to how many videos he has occurred in. And as to the breakdown portion, we have the bits of the vehicle that are still from the SE RTR. He's still running the stock bumpers. This is the body that comes on the RTR in that sort of primer gray. It is fitted with with an array of drift stitches holding the body together, but this body has well over 1,000 hours of use on it, and not just use, but component testing, tire testing. He tests motors, servos, speed controls. He does installments of the Weekly Dumb where he's fitted with tires that aren't even tires. He's tested tires from the very best to the very worst. What is not oft seen when you see him on the channel is the wheel and tire he is fitted with right now. These are 8-hole. I can't remember. Hot Storm? I think Hot Storm used to sell them. They are slightly overweight compared to other 24mm wide ring wheels. Canyon Trails of the archaic variety. Several years ago, even before he was born, Traxxas had 2 compounds for Canyon Trails, with the so-called RTR compound and then the S1 compound. This is the exact set of tires from the first crawler I ever bought, a TRX4 Defender, several months before I purchased him. These are the tires. It's proof that you can make a tire that lasts and does well. And inside of them are Canyon Custom Mediums. For those who don't know, a Canyon Custom Medium is you take the inner part of a Tim 10 dual stage. May they hopefully not rest in peace. Hopefully we will see Tim 10s again. You take the Tim 10 and then you take a 3-inch, sometimes referred to as a medium hair bun, that you purchase either on Amazon or from a dollar store, and you put it around the outside. So inside this tire is a hair bun wrapped around this blue inner. All 4 tires. And that is what he has always run for his default tires. So in any episode that he appears while fitted with these tires, he has had one set of stock tires, and these are them, and these are the rims that he has always been on. He has been on these shocks This was the first, I guess it's easier to show the ones in the back. This is the first set of fake Drivetrains, what we call around these parts Chavtecs, available on Amazon, AliExpress, and all of your discount locales. They were put on here for a long-term test. They have been fitted to the vehicle for well over a year. I would say probably in the 18-month range. And I just serviced them, and they look absolutely fantastic. Seals were still good. Everything was still good. The only thing that I noticed, a peculiarity of Baseline, I flip-flopped the shocks. I put the left on the right and the right on the left because there was some wear around the outside of the body from the shock spring, which I believe is from this. It's from the constant steering action and the servo pushing on that side with such force that it's actually deflecting the shock. Also notable and worthy of mention, today is 440 days since his last service interval, his last spa day. He has just completed one, as you can tell, because many of these components are original to the vehicle. The fenders, the bumpers. The bumpers broke almost immediately. They use pins that are too long. So then what you do is you shave off the pins. You take some bumper mounts from some Amazon bumpers and you screw them together, and then they go right back into service. Much like if a body rips, a body tears, a body cracks, you drill a couple holes around those spots on the body and you put zip ties through it. And then the body lasts just that little bit longer. So, as I mentioned, just off of service, and in that service, because someone asked, well, I mean, is it an Enduro SE? Like what did you do? Well, when this guy came out, because he was very much launch edition, when they shipped it to you, the links in the rear gave the vehicle a 313 millimeter wheelbase, and the vehicle shipped with this, a 324 millimeter body. So you had two options. You could cut the whole front of the fender flare off, or you could replace the links in the rear to stretch the wheelbase the required 11 millimeters, which I did. And then I learned that you can't mix plastic links, the Enduro SE being the very economy model, fitted with bushings throughout, fitted with plastic links. If you mix those links, the metal links will break the plastic links almost immediately. So then he ended up gradually being replaced to all metal links. He was then gradually replaced to almost all bearings in place of the bushings. He still carries a couple of bushings because Element, in their divine wisdom, they've done some things right and they've done some things not so right. The 5x10 bearing is kind of a thing that I would classify as not so right. On this particular axle housing, because this is not an SE housing, he just went through a service. This is a housing from a Gatekeeper, the hard plastic, so it flexes less. So it is the older spec. All of the new axles from Element feature a 5x12 inner pinion bearing. They used to be 5x10 inner pinion bearings. Then what would happen is, because the pinion itself is undersized, it would start to work. It would blop the bearing apart. The bearing chunks would fall in there, and the two gears would fight each other to the death, and it was usually mutually assured destruction. So on any housing that doesn't have a larger bearing, I run a 5x10 bronze oil bushing on the inside, because try as it may, and try as it might, that pinion gear will never be able to break that bushing. I say that hubristically. I mean, I guess there's a foreseeable possibility. The chances are never zero. So during his most recent service, he had quite a few plastics replaced. He had not all, but virtually all fasteners replaced, because as I said, over 1,000 hours of service. He runs a Triol front axle housing, aluminum housing, with the Element factory team ring and pinion inside. I want to say Triol brass C-hubs. If you are building an Enduro, if you're building anything Element based, do yourself a favor. the first thing that you should buy is going to be the least fun thing that you're going to buy. You're going to go on the internet and you're going to fight it. You're going to not like it. And you're going to spend $50 on the factory team ring and pinion. You're going to put them in the front because they are worth it. You cannot kill them. That front axle has a degree of smoothness that is almost incomparable compared to others. The Stealth XF, when freshly rebuilt and greased, is truly a thing of beauty. Went all the way through it. He is running 12% underdrive, just the optional gears, even though the SE comes with no overdrive, underdrive. And if you want to outfit a Stealth XF to underdrive, overdrive, really your only real option is to buy a Builder's Kit 3. Because if you buy an SE, it has no overdrive, underdrive. And if you buy an XF kit, it has a bunch of stuff that makes it not worth the time. There's an intermediate gear between the pinion gear and the spur gear, called an intermediate gear, and the XF kit comes plastic, and you will shatter that gear almost immediately because it also has a slipper eliminator in it, and this does not. It has a slipper in it. It also has steel outdrives, and I'm not worried about the weight. I want the smoothness. They call it a Stealth for a very good reason. Give it a little more. Original drive shafts. Original plastics for the gearbox save. I just replaced this. You will probably end up on an alloy housing in the front. The Triol is excellent, and you know, it's one of those things. You know, I have no room for regrets. None at all when it comes to baseline or the money that has been spent on him. He is caster flipped in the front. I have a video documenting the caster flip. And if you want to know what caster flip does, well, it does this. If you want to get that road grader steering angle, which is also why his universals have got little dog ears on them from basically over traveling. Because Element doesn't do things like put limiters on the C-hubs, especially when you put aftermarket C-hubs on it. The caster flip is basically you clock the C-hub and then you flip the tie rod from the bottom of the knuckle to the top of the knuckle. So you got some parts rubbing against each other, but you know what it doesn't do? It doesn't affect you. I will take the added steering. This guy needed the going through. Fusion 1200, the perfect power plant for this platform. There is really, to be fair, nothing else worth putting in there. There just isn't. If you put a Fusion Pro in there, it will be underutilized. If you're putting a Outrunner in there, tell me why. Like, why would you do that when the 1200 absolutely exists? Because the service that is performed on a Fusion SE 1200 after 440 days between services, and that means that his first big service was about that long. From January of 2023 to May of 2024, and then from May of 2024 to August of 2025. So he gets services about every 450 days. Every 1.3 years is when he gets a service. And years are generally not a measuring stick. When I measure the performance of vehicles, I like to look at it in terms of hours of service. So he's probably 600 hours of service, and then he goes under a full overhaul. And this overhaul was much bigger. All the screws, virtually all the bearings, all of the rear axle plastics, and to you Element owners out there, to prevent, or at least in my mind, I think it can be beneficial, to keep them from getting what I would call long in the tooth, because Element axles are center pinion, I flipped both ring gears in his axles so that I had to reverse the motor. So now his ring gears are actually rotating the opposite direction. By my estimate, that means, because we spend more time going forward than we do in reverse, we're now using the other side of the tooth. So this should, well, I mean, we're talking about gears, particularly that rear axle, and the gears in the gearbox I switched to the underdrive overdrive in like March of that year of 2023. So we've got 2.5 years on every gear in here. I did go through a handful of front ring and pinions before I realized that the factory team, why does it have to be $50, is almost required. He is nearly antithetical to what we do here, which is throw stuff at it. He has the shock. Look at the shocks, straight up and down. It's all stock geometry. The shocks go to the points that they go to. The links go to the points that they go to. The front links have not been changed. The rear lengths have been changed to fit the body. Now, if you buy one now, the links are the correct length for the body. At least they caught it and fixed it. But, I mean, what is there to say? He has the hallmarks of what makes something truly great. If you can have this many hours of service and the stock, the universals that came with the kit are still in there and they're still doing it, and the body is still against all odds, would you like to guess how many times this body has been self-righted? I mean, it's hundreds. There's almost no spot left on the body with any gloss left to it at all. This guy is maybe the mainstay. This is the guy. This is baseline. The baseline. Not only to establish a baseline, but to be the baseline against which effectively everything else is measured. My years now of ownership of this vehicle and the tinkering and the maintenance and the regular use and him testing, we have more time together than I have with some associates that I know. Like, by a wide margin. Almost every obstacle and gated course in the canyon was built hand in hand between him and I. We would go out there and he would sit there in the shade with his energized and the radio sitting over there, and I would do some modification and then I would drive him and he would test it. And he laid out green line and he laid out back nine and front nine and deadline and Mavericks, and he was the guy responsible for pretty much everything out there. So he is as much a part of the canyon as the 90 tons of rocks that sit in the backyard. Baseline is, he rests, and it is no accident. There is room for 3 vehicles in my workbench area. They are directly above the camera, right here. Dead center is a little wooden badge that says baseline, and that is his spot, and no one could ever claim it from him. And that is pretty great. And so is baseline. Am I telling you that the Enduro SE is the way to go? I am not. It requires a parts bin and some knowledge and a willingness to spend basically the cost of the vehicle over again. It comes with the worst electronics money can buy, baby. Now you can fix it pretty easy. You put the value, if you buy one of these on sale for $200, you're going to immediately need to put $200 into it. And then you're going to put $200 into it again, because you're going to buy a Radiolink RC4, you're going to buy a Fusion 1200, and you're going to buy a servo of your choice. A direct power Flash Hobby 50 or 60 kg is not a bad place to start. He's actually on his second one. His first one lasted until it wore out mechanically. The actual pin that holds the center gears wallowed out the hole in the case, and the servo started to eat itself. Baseline is that which will never die. Have most of his plastics been replaced at this point due to wear or breakage? Yes. He's broken metal parts as well. Every bushing and bearing in him has been replaced at least once. This very morning, every outward-facing bearing was replaced. The ones in the gearbox still looked excellent. The ones in the intermediate gear were both what I would call, in technical terms, blown. So those got replaced as well, along with the fasteners and a bunch of plastics and everything else. And you know what we do? We just keep charging forward into the future. With the Canyon, with Baseline, Baseline is him. Like, he can do that which you go, oh. And at the same time, C channels, no anti-squat value. $12 worth of shocks. He is a man of pure utility and no extravagance, and it's a big part of what makes him great. So, I now present to you the comments section. Put any questions, comments, or concerns you have in that section below, and particularly take note and make note if you are interested in all and a series of breakdowns on the vehicles here, and if there's a vehicle that you have in mind. Like I say, there's a little bit of a From the Comments tie-in. If you'd like to see a breakdown of any of the vehicles in the Canyon fleet, or just ask a question like, hey, what happened to that one? Because I keep, like somebody will say, hey, are you going to take that Atlas out? The Atlas went to its forever home a long time ago. So if you're wondering why you haven't seen a vehicle in a while, ask away. If you would like to know more about the inner workings of any vehicle in the entire fleet, or just get a tip or a trick about this or that, let me know in the comments below. I thank you so much for joining us here today. I look forward to seeing you again in the next one, and in between now and when we meet again, please one and all do your very best. Have a good one, everybody. We'll see you again here from the Canyon with, something.